In my initial Mario Kart career video, I touched on a potential addition to the franchise I'd like to see Nintendo take a stab at. That being a track editor players can use to create their own race courses and upload online. I put forth the idea that Nintendo would give us pre-made open world sandboxes for us to freely explore and map out a track from, not unlike what we can do in Home Circuit. My name is Megajohn, and in this video, I'm going to explain my idea for the concept in further detail to give a better idea of what I'd like to see from a track editor. From the main menu, you'd access the track editor by selecting single player. And once you select that option, you'd first choose which world you'd like to build your track on. Forgive the slapdash quality of the preview art, by the way, I was in a hurry.
We don't have much of a budget for this.
The first world, Circuit Stadium, would have your typical stadium track as its big draw, filled to the brim with ramps and sharp turns. The occasional loop-de-loop would also appear for some anti-gravity sections, but the level also extends outside to a generally open parking lot to encourage open-ended design. Additionally, some of the parked cars can reverse and drive forward again to service obstacles. Another part of the area can have your standard circuit track right beside the parking lot. When driving around to design your track, you can incorporate as much or as little of the track as you want. But if Circuit Stadium isn't your speed, maybe you design your course in Dry Valley. It's pretty much your obligatory desert level. This one has a much greater emphasis on being more open. Small sand dunes can be used as trick ramps in addition to providing terrain elevation. Perhaps we can even have a sphinx based off of Cat Peach. An oasis could make for a short but sweet underwater part of the map. Having a pyramid would be cool too to drive up with anti-gravity, with the top being a glider ramp to go to the next part of your track. Or if you want, you can drive inside the pyramid and go underground through a tomb-like area. Anti-gravity driving or half-pipes could return from dry ruins, and perhaps we can have an area where you're driving up or down a sandfall of sorts. This would be the primary way you'd leave the tomb area. Next is our beach level, Sunken Paradise. A portion of the map will take place on a tropical island, primarily the sandy shore populated by crabs and cataquacks. A boardwalk area can lead us over the water into the shallow depths of winding paths separated by large rocks, coral reefs, and pieces of ruined structures scattered across the ocean floor. It'd also be cool to have a partially sunken pirate ship where we can drive on, drive in, or drive off of to give us another gliding section. At some point underwater, you might land on the back of a whale and use its massive tail as a ramp to trick off of. But as it waves its tail up and down, the path can split to an upper or lower part and reconnect to one area. This next area is a more direct Mario reference. World 4 would be a traffic level, Metro Kingdom. It would be like an expanded version of New Donk City from Mario Odyssey. It could have a part where you're driving up City Hall or driving off the rooftop of a building to glide across a significant portion of the map. Maybe have a suspension bridge where we can drive or glide across too. The presence of buses to drive on as well as glider ramp cars would spice things up a bit too. Maybe we can cut through the park too for some off-road shenanigans. Maybe even take a detour to an underground tunnel through the sewers where you can drive along the graffiti-covered walls while avoiding giant piranha plants. Some parts might be completely submerged in water. Perhaps there are active subway tunnels which necessitate the player avoiding oncoming trains.
But I'm not done yet!
Lost Jungle would be our jungle level. Shocking, I know. This map would be a maze of trees and bushes with some Donkey Kong-inspired ruins popping up with the overgrown foliage covering or partially damaging them. There could be some tricky jumps where you'd have to cross the rushing rapids. Perhaps some cavernous areas hidden behind waterfalls with falling rocks or rolling boulders. These caves could also lead into an active volcano where you have to avoid a pool of magma with the occasional geyser shooting up from the ground. World 6 is where we have our snowy area, which I call Frost Top Woods. I wanted to include a forest area, but to avoid it being too similar to the jungle, I combined the snow theme with the forest. The whole map would take place on the side of a snow-capped mountain with some sparsely forested areas to make for some tight and twisty maneuvers. Further down the mountain could have a partially frozen lake for some more underwater driving. Some half-pipe ski ramps could also make for an interesting in-between for those locations. A more open pass would make for a seemingly simpler time going up or down the mountain, but that's where we might run into giant snowballs. Maybe the top can have a Sky Lodge resort area with a somewhat open lot full of snowmen. Up next is Moonsite Dig because space levels are really cool. We could have it where the gravity is noticeably weaker than normal terrestrial-based tracks. Driving in or around the moon's craters, cliffs, and canyons could make for some creative track design on the part of the player designing the track. What's more is the aforementioned dig site would be a big crater surrounded by spaceships and construction vehicles. This underground area could definitely have anti-grav sections going through partially excavated UFOs. And exiting the underground area or accessing it via the surface would give you a small but interwoven network of rainbow roads to drive on. They would be looping all over the place so you can go crazy with the anti-gravity focused track design. Last but not least, World 8 would be live circuit. And this map would take place in a living room with you being shrunken down. This, of course, is my way of bringing over the quote-unquote tracks from Mario Kart Live home circuit. But as this is a fully in-game experience, we won't have the same limitations as the last time. Imagine driving across a hardwood floor with carpeted areas acting as off-road to slow your cart down. A bunch of toys could be scattered across the floor to serve as obstacles or racing opportunities. I think it'd be cool if you could drive up a ramp onto the seat of a long couch and use the cushions as bouncy platforms to drive across. Maybe some playsets can feature ramps and plastic loop-de-loops for toy cars too. A toy train set could drive across the path to impede your progress like Calamari Desert's trains. I think these 8 base worlds are a solid enough selection for players to choose from, and each of these levels offer their own distinct feel. But for that extra aesthetic difference, you can change the time of day for your selected environment. Daytime would be default, but you can change it to sunset, night, or overcast. Additionally, each of these time of days would come with weather variations. Weather would be specific to which world you choose. So for example, you can change nighttime Metro Kingdom to rainy night Metro Kingdom. The weather variations for Frosttop Woods would have snow instead of rain, so on and so forth. And once you've figured that out, you can choose the music. Before I explain how I would handle music selection, I wanted to talk about an idea someone left in the comment section of my Mario Kart career video. Dilmy Aukley, sorry if I mispronounced your name, suggested importing music with an SD card. I absolutely love this idea, but trying to look at it from a realistic sense, Nintendo may not allow that to avoid copyright issues. I'm sure they don't want Slim Shady dissing them for having his music in the game without his permission. But all joking aside, the idea did get me thinking, and I wanted to compromise with a method to introduce more variety. My solution would be to have all the original music from this hypothetical Mario Kart game in addition to older versions of the music for all the remade retro tracks. So for example, if you want your background music to be SNES Mario Circuit, you can opt to have the new remix or the older versions from SNES, GBA, DS, Wii, Tour, or Switch. And if there's a track that features multiple variations of a song from one game like, say, 3DS Rainbow Road, you can choose which variation you want your racetrack to have. After all of that is finally done, you'll be allowed to explore the world you chose to create a course. Of course, you can always change the time of day and music while creating your track should you ever change your mind. Lap count will also be determined on how big the loop you make is. Once you've completed a loop on your track, you'll be asked to race on it however many times you need to finish a solo race. Then you'll be able to name your track and submit it online for the world to play. The track you created will also be saved to a slot in your created courses for you to race offline as well. This, I feel, would increase Mario Kart Career's lifespan and could mean an unlimited amount of creative courses will be made by the player base. If you saw my first Mario Kart Career video, I mentioned how pre-made open world maps would be a better middle ground than building a course from scratch, tile by tile. Since I feel that glitches and exploits would be abundant if that were the case. And I wouldn't want to exclude gliding and anti-gravity racing either, so this is my compromise. Do I have the right idea with this track editor? Are there any additions you'd rather see in your ideal Mario Kart game? Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Be sure to leave a like, subscribe for more, and share with your friends. Become a channel member to get early access to videos, and with that, I'll see you all next time. All hail VM!